Hey everyone, it's Alexander Robinson. Welcome to the channel and happy Godzilla Day! It is officially November 3rd, the 70th anniversary of the original Godzilla movie coming out in Japan, and 70 years later, the series is just as strong as ever. Maybe even more so. I have done so many Godzilla related videos, and I will continue to do more of them as long as I'm in love with this franchise. But for today, I'm going to be talking about something connected to the single worst thing to come out of the Godzilla franchise. I've already talked about that movie last year, but today I'm going to be reviewing Godzilla the series, which is an animated series based off the Roland Emmerich movie from 1998. It ran on Fox Kids from 98 to 2000 and acts as a direct continuation from that movie. And when I say direct continuation, I mean that in the sense that the series literally opens with the ending of the first movie, where the monster is taken down and dies. However, the ending is sort of revised and differentiates from the movie, where Nick Totopoulos and a team decide to head back to Madison Square Garden to try to see if there are actually any eggs remaining. So Nick comes across the one last Zilla egg. It hatches right in front of him, but the baby imprints on Nick, and it soon grows bigger. It identifies Nick as its father, and soon Nick, along with a couple of other characters, form the organization called Heat, once they start figuring out that there are other giant monsters popping up over the world, and Zilla is basically acting as the guard dog or the mascot for this group. Before I continue, if you like this review and you want to see more videos like this in the future, especially if you're a Godzilla fan, then you can go ahead and subscribe to the channel and also hit that bell button to get a notification when a new video comes out. Anyway, let's continue with the review. So I have already talked about Roland Emmerich's Godzilla. What's said about it in the past 26 years doesn't really need to be repeated. I did an updated review for that movie last year on its 25th anniversary, and while it's not as bad as I remember, especially now that we're in a post-Monsterverse world, it certainly fails as a monster movie, and ultimately fails as a Godzilla movie. In that review, I mentioned that I'd watched the movie for the first time on VHS. I didn't see it in theaters, and one of the ads that played in front of the movie on the tape was for Godzilla the series. So I heard about this animated series before seeing the movie, and if I like the movie, then I'll check out the animated series. I clearly didn't like the movie when I saw it, so naturally I didn't bother with the animated series, but instead decided to go and watch all the real Godzilla movies. I caught a few episodes on TV, but that was more or less me waiting to watch the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles show at the time, or catch reruns of Back to the Future, the animated series, which was also running on Fox Kids. But over the years, ever since the advent of the internet, I've heard a lot of people saying that Godzilla the series is actually pretty good, and it's infinitely better than the movie that's based off of, and actually has respect for the Godzilla brand. So I eventually bought the series on DVD at Barnes & Noble, all 40 episodes, but it actually wasn't until this year where I decided to sit down and actually watch the series from beginning to end. And yeah, everything that's been said about this series is definitely true. I don't think it's as good as something like Batman the Animated Series or Star Wars The Clone Wars, but for a TV show based off a terrible movie, they actually took what the movie left them and not only expanded upon it, but actually made it work. I have to get this out of the way right now. I'm still not 100% comfortable calling this monster Godzilla just because it still looks nothing like the original character. However, the mannerisms that they gave the creature in this series are definitely more in line with Godzilla. He actually shoots atomic breath this time around, or a heat ray, because that's what Toho has officially classified it as. So while it doesn't irritate me hearing the characters call it Godzilla, I still can't refer to this monster as Godzilla. I can only say Zilla, and I think a lot of the fan base has called this creature Zilla Jr. And as for the monster itself, this is definitely more faithful to what Godzilla is supposed to represent. I mean, he's more in line with the Hanna-Barbera Godzilla, where he's basically the pet or the sidekick to the human characters. But he does have atomic breath, he is more indestructible, he delivers a beatdown to most of the monsters he comes across, and it's more in line with what the Showa-era Godzilla was back in the 60s. All of the monster action in the show is pretty fun. There's a lot of unique and creative creative looking monsters. Some of them work really well with the design aesthetic for Zilla, and others are just plain old creatures like giant bugs, giant bats. It very much tries to keep the level of realism that Roland Emmerich attempted to do with his movie, and in this series it actually works. But then there are points in the series where they just throw realism out the door. Now, I'm not talking about Godzilla flying or defying the laws of physics, but to the point where they just go full weird. Like there's a shrew living inside a tornado. Okay, there's a giant tentacle monster named Medusa that has the creepiest face imaginable and basically sucks out all the water inside a human's body, dehydrating them until they're corpses in the mummy. And in the middle of season 1, they just go, screw it, we're bringing in aliens to this series. And near the end of season 1 is where we get one of the better arcs for the series, which is referred to as the Monster War, but is essentially this series' version of Destroy All Monsters. Aliens basically come down to Earth, they mind control all of the monsters, and the human characters have to stop them. It's moments like this that really show how much the creators of this show did in fact love the franchise. Whereas with the movie, Roland Emmerich had made it clear and is on record in saying that he doesn't understand Godzilla, nor does he like Godzilla. And in this series, just watching all the episodes that they do, it's clear that they had a mad respect for the source material. There's even an episode where the Heat team goes to Japan, and one of the characters they encounter is a scientist named Dr. Ifukube, named of course after Akira Ifukube, who gave Godzilla his voice and his theme. As for the human characters of this show, I have conflicting feelings about them. First of all, Nick Tatopoulos is a completely different character than he was in the movie. Matthew Broderick portrayed that character as somebody who is smart, but you really wouldn't buy him as the go-to guy when it came to a giant nuclear animal roaming across New York City. He just seemed a little wormy, for lack of a better word. But this Nick Tatopoulos, he's a man of action, he has confidence, he's a leader, so I definitely could buy him more as a guy leading a team of people against these nuclear mutations. The same thing goes for Audrey. She's more confident in herself. She is actually a news broadcaster this time around, so I guess she eventually did get that promotion. And in the few episodes where these two characters are on screen together, I was actually invested in their lives. The will they or won't they dynamic actually works better this time around because both characters are married to their jobs. Audrey as a news reporter and Nick as a scientist. So you're just hoping that things work out for the two of them. Unlike the movie where I'm just like, this woman screwed this guy over and nobody wins at the end. It also helps that these characters have been recast. Nick Tatopoulos in this show is voiced by Ian Ziering from Sharknado, and Audrey Timmons is voiced by Paget Brewster from Community. So their performances definitely made me believe in these characters and grew to like them more than I ever did with the actors in the movie. You also have Elsie Chapman and Mendel Craven, who are actually characters from the movie. They are pretty much the same characters that they were in the movie. Now that we get to spend a little more time with them, they don't come across as one note and obnoxious. Well, sometimes Mendel did get on my nerves just because he was like the wimp of the group, but there are definitely moments in the series where the two of them have time to shine. The last two members of Heat are original characters for this series. Randy Hernandez, who more often than not got on my nerves because he's that super laid-back, stereotypical cool character who makes fun of the dork of the group, and it gets to a point where Randy's just an asshole. I'm like, dude, lay off Mendel, quit tampering with Nigel, and how many times has he asked you to stop and you just keep doing it? But all that being said, this guy is a tech wizard, and he proves himself more valuable to the team than not. Whenever I find myself asking, why are you even here? He would do something and play an important role to where I'm like, oh, okay, I see why you're sticking around. He also acts as Zilla's hype man. Whenever Zilla shows up to fight another monster or save the Heat team, he's always there to go, yeah, G-Man's here! The other original character is Monique Dupre, who is very much the stone-cold, serious French agent who is assigned to originally kill the new Zilla, but eventually becomes an official part of the Heat team and isn't really reporting back to her superiors. The overall group dynamic does work. There are a few moments throughout the series where the dialogue is very like Saturday morning cartoon-esque, where all the characters have nicknames for each other, they poke fun at one another, and I'm just like, guys, just stop, please. And that's one of the few reasons why I'm not like, oh my god, in love with this show, like so many other fans are. Like, it's very good, but I just don't think it's excellent per se. Again, some of the character dynamics did get on my nerves a bit. Another issue I had, especially binging this whole series, is that all the episodes really start to feel the same. They have a strict formula that they all follow, so you can kind of know beat for beat how things are going to play out. Right down to, oh, Zilla showed up. Now here's the part where Randy hypes him up and goes, yeah, he's here. Oh, he did it. There we go. Here comes the part of the episode where Randy makes fun of Mendel. Here comes the part of the episode where Nigel gets killed. The little robot that Mendel created that pretty much acts like Kenny from South Park, because he dies in every episode. Here's the part of the episode where Zilla starts to fight the new monster, but is defeated and overpowered, much like Gamera in the Showa era. It got to a point where it got really tiring, and I was just ready to be done with the series. However, when we got near the end of season 2, there was actually one episode that I found to be really creative and just a breath of fresh air from the rest, and that's when Audrey is reporting on a terrorist group that's trying to liberate the monsters of Monster Island. Which is another thing I forgot. There's an actual Monster Island in this series, much like the Showa era films. But anyway, the whole episode is told from an edited news report. And the episode ends with Audrey pulling the tape out of the VCR after showing it to Nick for the first time. And I thought, you know, that's a really clever way to tell an episode of the show, because it's different. It breaks some of the formulas that I've been growing really tired of for the past few episodes. And it was probably the best episode after the Monster War arc. And all the episodes after that, I started getting more invested in the characters. The series didn't really stick to formula as much. So at the point when I was feeling tired of Godzilla the series, it kind of won me back near the end. Not that I was disliking it, but I was just a little restless. Like, okay, is this how every episode from here on out is going to be? And the end of season 2 pretty much brings it all around for me. So to sum it all up, Godzilla the series is hands down better than the movie it's based off of. However, unlike the Clone Wars, it doesn't really add much context to the movie it's based off of. Like the Clone Wars adds so much context to the prequels that it kind of makes those make a little more sense. You could watch the prequels and go, okay, I get a bigger picture of everything that's happening. This series, you could literally watch on its own without watching the movie it's based off of, because that movie has no respect for the Godzilla name at all, whereas this series clearly does. To the point that in the Monster War arc, they actually revived the first Zilla as a cyborg, so it'll be the closest to any of the other Toho monsters getting a look in this series. It's pretty much their version of Mechagodzilla, and it actually worked pretty well. So overall, I'd say it's good, but it's not great. With 40 episodes, you shouldn't really take that much time to binge it all in one sitting, because they go by really quick. However, there are episodes that do repeat each other, and some of the tropes get really tiring after a while. But if you hated the Roland Emmerich movie, and even to this day refuse to watch the animated series, I'd say check it out, because it's definitely enjoyable. And there you go, that's my review for Godzilla the series. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching this video, thank you for being subscribed to the channel, and I also want to give a special thank you to my YouTube members right over here. If you want to help support this channel even more, you could do so via YouTube memberships for as little as $1.99 a month. Not only do you get early access to all of my videos, but you get exclusive videos that nobody else gets to see, including my top 5 favorite series. So I hope you consider joining as a YouTube member in the future. And I briefly want to let you all know that if you want to hear me talk more about Godzilla on Godzilla Day, you can go over to my theme park and travel channel, Alexander Robinson Travel Channel, where I have a video where I detail what I want to see in a Godzilla theme park land. So definitely check that out, and check out the overall channel if you like theme park stuff. Until next time, I want to know what you guys think about Godzilla the series. Whatever your opinions are, let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell button to get notifications. If you want to follow me elsewhere on the internet, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Letterboxd, Threads, and my theme park and travel channel right here on YouTube. I'll see you guys in the next video, but until then, have a good day, take care, and long live the King of the Monsters.